We thought winning will be not an issue. We won the first game, and second game was semi-finals, and we thought, okay, let's save our horses. And we are so complacent. We tried 12 times and scored one goal. Our opponent, who are weak, came twice and scored two goals, and we lost 2-1. There's a very famous saying, पढ़ोगे लिखोगे बनोगे नवाब, खेलोगे कूदोगे होगे खराब. No, this is a very old school of thought in which you felt that academics is all important and sports are absolutely secondary. Times were there when there are people like us who took decision that who felt sports is the ultimate thing as a profession or sports as an aid to leadership. And did you know that 26 out of the 44 American presidents had served in the military? And 14 out of the last 19 were athletes at the university level. So what does it tell us? It tells us that soldiering and sports as an activity or as a discipline are major contributor towards leadership. It doesn't mean to say, doesn't mean that a person who is not a sports person or who is not served in the military or doesn't have a soldiering spirit cannot be a leader. But for sure, those who have a military bent of mind and those who have sports person spirit are certainly going to benefit in their leadership skills. As I look back, I've served about 4 decades in the army. I succeeded because I reached the rank that I did. And when I look back, I find that two things which really made the foundation for my career, it was the soldiering and the sports person spirit. I had the privilege of playing polo for my corps, for the Indian Army and for the Indian Polo Association teams. I also did my professional work the way it is desired of a soldier. And yet, these two things stand out as I look back at my career, as I look back at the success that I achieved. And besides this, I'm not talking about soldiering and sports as a person who's worn uniform. There can be a soldiering spirit in a person who goes to school. You wear uniform. You follow certain timing, discipline. You cheer for your houses and teams in various activities. That is what I call as universal concept of soldiering. It is the school kids, it's the college, it's the grown-up working professionals who follow the tenets of discipline, physical fitness, orderly stuff that I call as universal concept of soldiering. Likewise, the thrill of hitting a six is same for a Virat Kohli or a Sachin Tendulkar as it is for a boy who's playing for his class. And the ability to understand the hard work that is required to do your sporting competition for your house or for your class, or the ability to tolerate a setback and then again pick up your fallen team to go and succeed, like we saw in the case of the Indian team, cricket team. They lost the World Cup one-dayers at Ahmedabad, and within a few months they won the T20 wherever it was held. So that shows how to have the resilience to get back. Let's talk about soldiering first. How does soldiering and the quality of soldiering help? One always thinks that in the army, because you are trained to follow orders, people follow orders. Because you are trained to be having a unit spirit or a team spirit, or because of the patriotism, you find people follow their officers in the face of enemy. Say, okay, most of you would be knowing about the Kargil war. We had young officers attacking those features with no real estate value, except that they belonged to India. And they had their men following them. And they all knew that there are only 40 to 50% chances of their coming back alive. Yet, the officer, the leader doesn't look back, and those men don't fall back. And they all go and assault with guns in front of them. No human being can walk easily, and they run up to against the bullets to assault, and they recapture those places. How does it happen? As I was talking today, it is besides the patriotism, national spirit, regimental spirit, it is the bonding. It is the bonding between the officer and the men. And it could be officer, could be men or women, as now that we have ladies coming in as well. And we have ladies coming in the military police in a limited number. But it is the officer, leader and the led relationship. How does this relationship come about? An officer, when he joins NDA as a cadet, he is put through a very high level of physical and mental strain. I remember we used to have physical activity of hours and hours and hours, and we are also doing our graduation from JNU. You had to pass your academics, otherwise you'll be relegated 6 months back. Then when you become an officer, you come to the unit, you don't go to the officer's mess, you are made to live in the lines. You live with your men. If you are a Sikh with South Indian troops, you eat with them. And if they eat more masala, you eat more masala. You use the community toilets. You pass each and every cadre of theirs. And as you go through the Agni Pariksha or you got the litmus test, they give you the right to lead. And that is how the army does it. And in the corporate or in any other field, if you have that relationship with the leader and the follower, leader and the led, you certainly reap much more dividends, and they will respect you only if you are competent. If you are passionate about your job and if you are leading them from the problem front, you are setting an example, will they follow you? There's a very famous शेर by Iqbal. इसे खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले बंदा खुदा से ये पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. Make yourself so competent that your subordinates feel proud of following you. Your seniors feel confident of giving you tasks that are difficult. That is what is competent. Sports, I have only one thing to say. In 1987, I was posted at the National Defence Academy. There is a high-level team which came from Delhi, comprising of an air marshal, a general, and an admiral. They wanted to reduce the outdoor periods to give it to computers and others. So we all made to give a presentation, and my equitation officer was a colonel from the cavalry. I was a captain. So we gave a presentation that riding, that is equitation training, not only teaches a cadet physical fitness and agility, it also inculcates certain leadership qualities in you. And the admiral asked, how do you do that? He said, sir, come tomorrow morning, sit on horseback and we'll do this assessment for you. And there it went. No periods were reduced, no training periods were reduced from us. So that means that had an impact. Likewise, sports teaches you everything, all that we know. It teaches you physical fitness, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you hard work, it teaches you team spirit, it teaches you how to handle victory and defeat. I can tell you one example. When I was a young officer, that was the first time I was called to play for my ASC team. We played in Delhi. There's a cup called Savai Mansingh Goldwas. It was a very highly competitive tournament. We won that tournament against 10-12 teams. Maharani Gayatri Devi, at that time, she was the one to give the prizes because the cup was presented by their family. We took the same team to Bombay. There were only 4 teams. And we thought winning will be not an issue. We won the first game. And second game was semi-finals, and we thought, okay, let's save our horses. And we are so complacent. We tried 12 times and scored 1 goal. Our opponent, who are weak, came twice and scored 2 goals, and we lost 2-1. It was, our heads were down, and I was a young officer. I was told to not even have flight, catch the next train, go back and do your course. But that gave me a lesson that whenever in life, everybody who felt very complacent, because sir, we are doing a great job, I used to feel that you need to do a rain check, right? Sports teaches you all that what something else doesn't teach. And you do not have to play to learn, and not at a great level. It teaches you fair play. The referee doesn't see whether you are a CEO or a captain or a colonel. He just sees that you're committing a foul. So if you play life like a game where you treat a foul as a foul and a goal as a goal, you will go places.